Hello and welcome into this week's edition of The Pole Position right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. Now, first off, I want to apologize here. We tried to put all three champions from this weekend out as die-casts on the set this week. As you can see, obviously that is not Joey Logano. It's the closest we got those. We don't have a Joey Logano car in the collection, but we do have Austin Cindric. Correct year, correct number, wrong series, wrong driver. So it's as close as we could get, but we do have the other two. So anyway, on this week's edition of The Pole Position, we are looking back at this weekend's three championship races for NASCAR from the Homestead-Miami Speedway. So let's go ahead and get right into that. First one happened Friday night for the Camping World Truck Series, the 23rd annual Ford EcoBoost 200, 134 laps, 201 miles around the 1.5-mile Homestead-Miami Speedway in Homestead, Florida. Brett Moffitt outdueled Noah Gragson for the Truck Series Championship. He took the win and the championship for his sixth win of the season Friday night. Grant Enfinger came home in the second position. Noah Gragson faded to third at the end. Stuart Friesen came home in fourth, and Sheldon Creed with a strong run to round out the top five. Rest of your top 10 were Matt Crafton, John Hunter Nemechek, Justin Haley, Jesse Little, and Ben Rhodes in 10th. All right, next race for the weekend was on Saturday evening for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the 24th annual Ford EcoBoost 300. 200 laps, 300 miles around Homestead-Miami Speedway. Tyler Reddick on pit strategy was able to outlast Cole Custer at the end of the race and take the victory. Cole Custer, I think, stayed out just a bit too long on the last exchange of green flag pit stops, and that was what did him in. The time that Tyler Reddick made up on the fresh tires before Custer pitted was enough to get Reddick out front and give him enough of a lead to win the race and the championship. Cole Custer came home in the second position. John Hunter Nemechek in third. Daniel Hemrick came home in fourth to get third in points, and Austin Cindric rounded out the top five. Rest of your top 10 were Ryan Preece, Justin Allgaier, Brandon Jones, Michael Annett, and Matt Tifft. Christopher Bell, your fourth championship 4 contender, came home in the 11th position. All right, and the final race for the weekend, the big event of the weekend, Sunday evening, it was the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Championship race for 2018, the 20th annual Ford EcoBoost 400, 267 laps, 400.5 miles around the 1.5-mile Homestead-Miami Speedway. The championship 4 all ended up in the top 4 positions, and Joey Logano would be the one who came home with the win and the championship, the first championship of his young career. Martin Truex Jr. in his final race for Furniture Row Racing, in the final race for Furniture Row Racing, as they ceased operations after this weekend, came home in the second position. Kevin Harvick third. Kyle Busch came home in fourth. Brad Keselowski rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, possibly the final race for Matt Kenseth. He came home with a strong 6th place finish. Chase Elliott, Clint Bowyer, Eric Almirola, and Kurt Busch rounded out the top 10. All right, and that is it. That's all we have for you from Ford Championship Weekend at Homestead-Miami Speedway. 3 NASCAR champions crowned for 2018. Brett Moffitt, Tyler Reddick, and Joey Logano. We have one final episode of Pole Position coming up next week for 2018 as we wrap up the final race of the F1 calendar for next week in Abu Dhabi. So we have that coming up next week before Pole Position fades off into the winter. It will be back next year, though, back and better than ever. So if you missed any of our Rewind shows this weekend, we had one for each of these 3 races. If you want to see a more in-depth recap of any of those races, go check them out. They're linked down below in the description. But I believe that is all we've got for you tonight on Pole Position. So if you haven't done it already, go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. And while you're down there, hit that big thumbs up button. It's much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the Pole Position, where you always start on the front row I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.